Guys,
Hey, Mike.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. Happy Friday. Kaylavon Chason did not practice, and he'll be questionable. Carlton Davis was full, and he'll be questionable. Milt Williams was limited, and he'll be questionable. Other than that, no other injury designations. Tavai will be questionable. Sorry, I fibbed. Okay, Karen.
How would you characterize the week of practice in the lead up to Sunday's game?
Focused. I think we've tried to bring energy. I think that our show teams are figuring out how they need to practice and how they need to try to execute to improve. I think that's something that we've tried to focus on after the first couple weeks of, there's a lot of young players that, whether they're in their first or second year, that are getting valuable reps on those show teams. And I know from firsthand experience how critical those reps are against your frontline players. And so I think they are figuring that out, and that in turn leads to better practices, more energy, and better speed.
Mike, you mentioned Milton being questionable. Can you just add any more context on what happened this week that led to that?
No, it's an ankle as it's listed on the injury report, and it's limited.
How's Tavai look? I know this is his first week back.
But worked really hard to be in shape and trying to simulate football shape in his return to play and trying to maximize the time away from the actual practice and working with our training staff and working with our strength coaches and was ready to go. And so it was exciting to see him get out there and get practice and defense and the special teams and trying to see where he's at. So we'll see how he responds in the morning, and then we'll make a decision going forward.
He's obviously a bigger inside linebacker than the others you have on the roster. What appealed to you when you were studying his film, deciding?
Versatility. I think he plays with good technique. I think he can play multiple spots. I think he's he's an instinctive player. I think he sees the field. I think he understands different concepts. He's a veteran player that's played in multiple spots. So there's a versatility there, and like his fundamentals, and done a lot of different things in other places that he's been in here.
Will Jared Wilson be back starting this week?
Yeah. If he's worked hard to come back, and so as of right now, the plan is to start Jared and continue that development there on the left side in his play. And if we need, if we need Ben or we need Vidarian or we need Marcus, those guys are ready to step in there and perform in the game like Ben did last week.
Drake's had some good success on third down, particularly a lot of success on all downs, but his success on third down. What are you seeing on that down that's maybe contributing to that?
Well, it starts with protection. I mean, if we can protect the quarterback, I would say keeping it to third and manageable and not getting out over our skis with the third and extra longs, which are difficult and force us to move the ball down the field into potentially a lot of coverage, which we've converted some of those. We've done a nice job in trying to convert some of those. Ball placement's critical. If it's man, putting it somewhere out in front, zone, being decisive and getting it to guys and guys being able to drop step and get the first down.
What has Will Kimble done Monday through Friday that's allowed him to show improvement coming in?
Well, consistency for a young player. I think that there's a really unique consistency, professionalism about the time that he shows up and the time that he goes and meets with the offensive line coaches and the time that he gets his treatment or lifts and the way that he studies and practice, and you just kind of keep building positive days on top of each other, and then preparing for his matchups and his job on Sunday.
James Cook this weekend. Is there anything you did different in practice to prepare for him? Or?
I mean, if we had somebody that could show us a look for James Cook, we'd be using him a lot. So, it's talent. He's very talented with the football in his hand, and they do a great job of maximizing his skill set and understanding that defensively everybody's at the point of attack, no matter where the ball starts with him or you think it's going to go somewhere, and you have to be sound and have to have some gap discipline, and certainly great efforts to get to the ball. And rarely does the first guy tackle him.
Mike, going back to the show team, how fine did the details get for these guys when they're charged with simulating a James Cook or Khalil Shakir?
Well, they meet and we do a lot of walkthroughs and we exchange, and they begin to try to morph into that particular person by the end of the week. And when the techniques are the same or the plays are the same, we want to just try to call it our stuff and our format, so they can go and play. And I've never been a big believer in putting stuff on the show team and saying, well, this guy's going to go here, or, bite up on the run, or, play this or play that. Do we really know that how they're going to react on defense? I mean, they're defensive guys. They're going to get lined up. They're going to communicate. They're going to see the ball. They're going to trigger. And so the more realistic snap, I'm like, how do you know where they're going to line up? I think we got a million cards, and that we think that they're going to actually be right there in the game, or disappointed when they're not there. Like, wherever they are, we're going to have to block them. Wherever they are on offense, we're going to have to cover them or tackle them. And I think that's how you have to work and be able to teach the game, so that you can become more instinctive and be able to handle the different things that are going to happen throughout the game.
How nice is it to see Rodney Harrison when he makes his way back?
It'd been nicer to see him 20 years ago and still be ready to play for us. But really, I think my career probably started to really take off, and the longevity of my career, partly due to Rodney and just how hard he worked at that age to take care of his body, but to still train his body, the violence in which he played with, the accountability in which he held me to and teammates was something that I always admired. And so any chance that I can get to be around him is great. But, I always enjoyed my 6 years with Rodney.
Those things you just listed off sound like things that are hallmarks or staples of your program, like how you coach now. Is that a fair description?
I think it's fair. I think it's also hard to find those types of guys that are willing to protect the team and not worry about conflict and not worry about saying something to somebody. Or, Rodney wasn't big into feelings. Like, he was a great friend and a great teammate, but he cared about winning, and he cared about, the team, and, how we played and how we prepared and how we competed. And if that bothered somebody, it certainly didn't bother him.
Not to oversimplify things, but is that a generational thing? That they're not.
I don't know what that is. I'm not sure. We're going to keep finding it. We're going to keep searching it and keep building it, and then explaining to these guys that it's okay, that if you care about somebody, if we put the time in to have some connections and care about somebody, you can have some truthful conversations and say things that, when you say it to a friend, they probably take it to heart. When you say it to a stranger, they probably think you're full of it.
With Milton out of not
We
practicing,
haven't worked on our volume lately.
I'm trying. I'm sorry. Okay. With Milton, is that better?
Yes.
With Milton out of practice on Thursday, was there anyone who you felt stepped up?
Josh Farmer's working extremely hard. Corey Durden, Eric Gregory. Those guys that we like in there, and they're young guys that, continue to work. And we've try to get them reps intentionally as the season has gone on. I think their snap count has continued to improve, and so the more guys that we can play up there and that they can help us, great.
The defensive side of the ball, Mike, how important is continuity? And when guys are dealing with injury, how do you mimic continuity with scout team guys?
I think that's just a product of your system, and making sure that everybody, the continuity, that the communication is the same, that, the linebackers are talking and speaking the same language. We rotate guys through practice just the same ways we have to get them ready for the game. That everybody's communicating the same, and that they're talking the same language, and they have the same, demeanor and understand how we want to play. Knowing that it's going to be hard to play with the same roster or same lineup throughout the season.
Mike, pivoting to Drake for a second, when you first got here and the staff assembled the development plan for him, who all was involved in deciding these are our priorities with Drake?
Me, Josh. I think, certainly the offensive staff. That we have we have good young minds. We have some veteran coaches in there, and so I think that was a good process, and allowing everybody to be heard and talk through and then try to come up with what we think is best for them.
Mike, you talk about continuity. Josh talked about the connectedness of Buffalo's defense. They've maybe changed some safeties over the years. There's a lot of guys who played a lot of football together, both sides of the ball for them. How much of that connectedness comes from the continuity they've established on the ball?
I mean, I think that they have a program in place, and they certainly have done a fantastic job of building that. Credit to Brandon and Sean of the types of players that they bring in and the ones that they develop. And it's very successful.
Final question?
How was our energy today?
Good.
Thanks.
Great.